My boy Subaru was about to go get a carton of cigarettes and milk from the convenience store and never come back if they actually did more than kiss. I mean, that reaction, the whole Emilia baby situation, this girl was definitely very sheltered, and I think Subaru says it best. God damn it, Puck, like, why did you do this to me? You sheltered this poor girl so much that she thought babies came from kisses, and, wow, that was something. You can definitely tell their relationship, while it's definitely grown a lot of like the intimate aspects about relationships, I feel like are gonna take a bit to get there for them, especially considering kisses was the most extreme thing ever to her, and I mean, that's just kind of glorious. Now, ReZero Season 2 has been one hell of a roller coaster. It made us suffer more than Season 1, which I didn't think would be possible, while also making us feel more satisfied than ever before. Ever since Season 1, I've always appreciated how it had Subaru's love for Emilia be realistic and him not just abandoning it because someone else said I love you to him. I love the idea of return by death and how suffering wasn't there to be edgy, but to actually show character or world plot progression, things like that, and just all the individual things that usually make isekais boring were really fascinating here. And to see Season 2, and I think Season 2 can actually be boiled down to what Subaru says at the end of the episode towards Emilia, saying like, it doesn't matter how it starts, it doesn't matter what's in the middle, it matters how it ends. The beginning and the middle of Season 2 was horrifying. We were eaten by bunnies, we were torched, we lost plot progression by the looks of it. I mean, everything about Season 2 was suffering, people forgetting Rem, everything about it was just pure and utter. It felt like the author ripped our heart open, emptied a dump truck full of salt, and said, say thank you. And because we're whipped, we said thank you. We said, yes, this is the greatest thing ever, but please don't keep us like this. And there's always multiple points I find in ReZero that makes you want to give up because it's like, this is too much. But you push through because you're like, no, they gotta show me something. And by the end, it felt like, as painful as that was, we ended in a spot where Subaru and Emilia's relationship is stronger than ever. He is officially the knight for Emilia. They have a relationship of some sorts, and it feels like, comparing him getting thrown out of chambers when there's all the royalty selection and all the candidates were coming up in Season 1, he made a fool of himself, she was embarrassed by him. Now she's proud of him, and she's definitely proud to call Subaru her knight, and definitely much more. I think that's what makes the payoff of this episode so great, and if you really take how many extra minutes per every episode, really, this wasn't a 25 episode season. This was like a 32 or 33 episode season, and I love it. I think White Fox knocked it out of the park, and you knew they were going to win. But it was a matter of what would come after, watching how they were able to deal with the great rabbits. I mean, there is so many of them and they continue to multiply. You have to obviously kill them in one swoop. Originally I thought it'd be Roswaal just launching a giant fireball and killing them all in the same time. But watching the combination of Beatrice and Subaru kind of like locking them around, kind of caging them in, Emilia giving a helping hand, the platform rises and Beatrice just completely sends them to something to the equivalent of the Forbidden Library where they don't have to worry. And to just see the resolution with Roswaal and just him, I mean, all things considered, he got off easy. He did get beat by every living character. But considering the fact that, he is contracted to not screw over Subaru, had Subaru lost, he would have ended up with the same type of spell because you knew it was going to happen because when they originally made their bet that this would be the last loop, Subaru, if there wasn't anything holding him down to that contract, even though he didn't realize it, he could have just kept returning by death until Roswaal ultimately lost. But by having it be that one last shot, whoever wins, winner takes all, it changes the game completely because without Roswaal, there's no way for Emilia to win. You need his power and influence, but at the same time, you also want him to believe in it. So the idea of him turning around, no longer having his tome, no longer having anything really happen around him that can be summed down to as I know where to go, other than following Subaru, because he definitely proved that he's more interesting and probably more capable of getting his dreams to happen than any book ever could. And I love that about this, and I especially love just seeing how everyone had a different opinion on the situation, and how some people were like, I will never trust this guy. Well, he has a seal on him that's kind of bounding into it. Maybe I can trust him. And then there's Emilia just saying, I want you to say sorry. And I'm like, you sweet innocent child, but I wouldn't have it any other way at this point. I mean, if you compare how people used to react to Emilia's innocence in season 1, it annoyed a lot of people, but I think after seeing her development, I think a lot of those naysayers will be like, you know what, that's part of her character, it's sweet and adorable, but look at how far she's come, we gotta appreciate it. But the whole conversation with Beatrice and Roswaal I thought was really interesting, especially considering we finally get to see the face of what appeared to be Echidna, and that face is very different than the face we've been seeing in the realms, and that's quite interesting. Up until, like, people brought up the fact that we never saw her face, I didn't notice it because it was just framed really well, because you'd usually see her mouth and below, but I was like, oh, it's nothing too important, we know who character that is. And then when you see the actual face, you're like, oh, this leads to a lot of possibilities. Is that a different character? Is that her not corrupted? What is going on? And I'm gonna be excited to see what happens with season 3, especially considering that's clearly gonna be a relevant plot point, given that Roswaal's entire goal is to bring her back and to be able to continue his love story, all things considered. But I love how Beatrice, for all these years, really was thinking that the Roswaals were always different people, and then he drops the bombshell in this episode about the whole soul transfer and things like that. And to just see her smack the living shit out of him, being like, you know, this is what you deserve, but thank you for coming back. It just felt like everything was satisfying about this episode. The fact that we can go from looking at the rabbits being like, this is the most horrifying thing ever, we know what they do, they are ferocious little bitches. And then we end this episode being like, you know what, they got this. Not only because this is the last episode, but because everyone is here. If this couldn't work, there is no way for it to work, and you would have to become Roswaal's puppet. There's no other way around it. That's what I love about this, is it felt like there was constant payoff, and by the time the credits started rolling and you saw all the individual screenshots of just them enjoying the party, it felt like everyone was a winner, that no one lost, and I think the biggest winners were definitely fans of ReZero, whether that be light novel, web novel, or anime only. It felt like everyone was a winner, and it felt like everything was happening for a reason. When you go back and rewatch season 2, a lot of that previous suffering, which initially gave us that, what the hell, why do you keep doing this, why are you erasing said character? And now it's like, oh, it really makes the ending of season 2 feel rewarding, and we got somewhere. It felt like a well-earned victory, even though we weren't fighting. I think in some ways, ReZero makes the viewers sweat and feel like they're a part of the cast more than a lot of shows, because it makes your stomach churn at so many different moments alongside those characters. So when they truly do let their guard down and just have a drink, or in the case of Garf, get his drink ripped away because he's a little too young according to his sister, it feels like this is what we were building up to. And I can safely say out of like every anime I've ever seen, I think ReZero's portrayal of suffering is probably done the best, because there is, without a doubt, some of the most horrifying things I've seen, but the long-term impacts that happen to characters like Subaru, Emilia, I mean, look at where Emilia was. She was bound and bent to giving up, and just saying, if you think about it, that kiss of death that Emilia gave to Subaru, all things considered, that scene can be portrayed a lot more differently now that we know she thinks kisses equal baby. That meant, like, she killed him for a baby, and that makes that scene even more horrifying. But then we end the season in such a positive way. The suffering is so bad, but the bad's good about it because you want it to hurt. It kind of makes you love the pain in a weird way. It's just like, ReZero was a breath of fresh air this season. It felt like, as much as we loved season 1, I thought season 1, as long as it got more anime, was a masterpiece. If it didn't get more anime, well, it's an incomplete story, so it's hard to say it's a masterpiece without an ending. But seeing with season 2, both seasons just combine into this like picture-perfect package that has you excited or frightened by the action, the slice of life scenes in the aftermath, the resolution with characters like Roswaal, to then even just seeing the sweetness of Beatrice really just giving in to someone like Subaru, saying like, I didn't want to leave the library so I'd be his number one, I picked him as my number one, and then just seeing the whole little dance and party and knighthood, like, this is what you want to see from ReZero. And this was a perfect episode. In a lot of ways, I feel like it's the best. I feel like they ended on the best possible way for ReZero. And I'm excited for season 3. You know we gotta be getting it if the author's working alongside the voice actors to make sure they understand the characters. White Fox is giving us 30-minute episodes for pretty much every single episode. We gotta be getting it eventually, but we just gotta wait for that quality. And I think most ReZero fans will say, we're more than happy to wait for that quality as long as it takes. Let me know your thoughts and feelings on the final episode of Season 2 down below, your favorite moment, and what do you think might happen in Season 3 if you don't know the source material. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, show your support, and hit that subscribe button if you're happy and you're around here. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.